Falling population and house prices. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because I'd like to have a look at this article written by Jason Murphy from news.com.au. What impact will a falling population have on Aussie house prices? Property prices are up, don't look set to stop rising. But there's one key factor that could derail the market completely. Now, Jason's going to talk about our declining population growth. You know what this will mean, everyone. What do you think it'll mean? If sharp population growth could have even a slight impact on our property prices, our leaders will jump to action. What do you think they can do? I'm going to have my shot of coffee, because when I'm recording these, guys, this is in the morning. So this is my morning coffee I work through. You know, I'll do several videos back to back. So I'm not drinking like 4 liters of coffee in the morning. Probably only one. What do you think they'll do? You know, there'll be calls to open the floodgates. We need to bring in international students. We need skilled migration. We need temporary visas. Come in, one, come all. So, if only we had the same liberty focus as Americans, that'd be a bit different then. Property markets are hot. I was at an auction the other day, and the place sold for $375 over the top of the advertised range. That should be the price of a first home, $375,000, with the median income of $55,000. But here's the thing: we're in a two-speed economy now. There's some people that can afford to live in the cities, and there are others that have to either rent or live further out and commute in until you get better earning potential. Or you get capital gains and can afford to jump out. That's the Australia now, guys. It's not the same as it was in the past. Remember that. Aussies are making the most of very low interest rates and buying houses in a frenzy. This is driving up prices across the country, as the new graph shows. I mean, there you go, everyone. If you, like me, thought COVID would depress the market, nope. Bizarrely, the city with the fastest house price growth, Melbourne, is also the one with the most empty homes. That's just investors getting in, isn't it? The next graph shows Melbourne has the country's worst rental vacancy rate at 28,000 rental properties sit vacant. Wow. Which is more than Sydney and over 4% of all rentals in Melbourne. And yet house prices are rocketing. So is this a dead cat bounce? You've got, market going up, goes down, dead cat bounces up and then falls back down again. Is that what we're seeing here? Or do we have an artificial bottom that the government's putting in houses here because they're propping it up with stimulus, mortgage-free holidays, JobKeeper, and everything they can? So they'll fight to keep it above that line because they want to intervene in the market. And look at those vacancy rates. I mean, is it good for negative gearing, guys? Tell me if you're making no rental return. Sydney's strong house price growth is also happening despite high rental vacancies, while in Canberra and Hobart, strong property price growth looks more logical. What distinguishes Melbourne and Sydney, of course, is high-rise towers full of apartments, which are usually occupied by students, tourists, and temporary workers from overseas. Those apartments are more vacant than usual as the borders are closed. See, here's the thing: we actually have we've got two markets in Australia. We've got the apartment market and we've got the housing market. I think it's kind of a completely different culture, to be honest. At different points in your life, you'll want to live in different things too. I wouldn't want to live in an apartment raising a family. That's just me. Not everyone wants to have a soccer team full of kids. So what's going on here? In Melbourne, CBD and rental vacancy rates in February were 7.5%, according to SQM. No wonder it seems empty on the streets there. Still, since December, house prices have kept rising. Property price data company CoreLogic says prices in Sydney have now set a new record. First recession in 28 years, everyone. Property sets a new record. The fresh record high is great news for Sydney homeowners, but highlights the challenges for non-home owners looking to participate in the housing market as values rise faster than income, says Tim Lawless, director of CoreLogic. Yeah, you're fighting a losing battle, guys, to get in. If you're trying to save to get in Sydney, you may not. Here's the thing: you're not going to have the life of your parents. You could have the same job as your parents did, but you couldn't be living in the same house or the same area. Does this make sense? Because population growth is at its lowest level in a very long time. As the next graph shows, the natural increase is pretty stable. That means the ratio of births to deaths is steady. But the rate of net overseas migrations has plummeted enough to overcome the rate of births, leaving Australia with less people in than before. And this is extremely rare. This is the thing, guys. You know, you got to get in there having kids. Come on. Do your part. One for Johnny, one for mum, and one for dad. And a few other for good measure. Australia's population actually fell in the September quarter. And that's only counting official migration, not the temporary students and workers who might be present in this country but are not official migrants. If you consider all of those people who might have returned to their home country, you should reduce the estimated population even more. Although don't forget that when you think about the population of people actually present here, you need to count hundreds of thousands of Aussies who would not usually be here at home but are now. There are lots of young Australians who can shortcut their gap year, experts who came home from Silicon Valley, and people who would usually be in Bali who are now actually in Australia instead. The percentage of Australians actually in Australia right now is probably near the highest it has been in decades, and in some cases this means extra demand for housing. In New Zealand, where COVID barely even really hit, house prices have risen even more than Australia. The reason? Almost 15% of New Zealanders live overseas, and they have been flooding home to their 100% pure homeland in 2020, creating huge demand. The New Zealand situation shows the potential for fresh arrivals to lift property prices, and this is something certainly interested parties in Australia are aware of. The Property Council of Australia desperately wants migration to start up again. It is the peak body for the property industry. Here, its chief executive, Ken Morrison, tells the government what to do in a pre-budget submission. Measures that support economic activity and job creation are more important than ever. As the RBA has shown, population growth is one of Australia's biggest economic engines. So safely restarting net overseas migrations must now be a priority. There you go, everyone. That's where the push is going to be. There's going to be a push for overseas migration, even more. They'll just turn the taps on, everyone, because property needs it, and property is Australia. What, you don't own 5 houses, negative to geared, paying interest only? You're not Australian, guy. Come on. This graph from the Australian government shows that net overseas migration will take a hit for at least 2 financial years. That and subsequent slow growth will leave Australia's population 4% smaller than it would otherwise have been in 2030-31. So higher property prices will certainly help encourage builders to get building. But as this next graph shows, dwelling approvals have already shot back up from COVID lows. Well, they petered off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's home builder right there. The home builder impact on the economy. We saw it. There'll be another tick up now. I think this month is the next end of the next round. So watch it. You'll see. So there's an interesting detail here. The properties have been approved at this time are not apartments, but overwhelmingly houses. Home builder. Post-pandemic, people want a bit of space around them and probably a spare room to work from home. The coming property boom won't be so much about cranes on the horizon as about paddocks being subdivided. Not if the Greens have their way. People will keep voting in the Greens to limit. We saw that in the other video I did here in Brisbane. You know, people representing a representative councillor from a suburb with average property over $1 million, wanting to stop a development in a city that's got nothing to do with them, that would have housing under 400. There you go. That literally is in a city, champagne sipping socialists, virtue signaling their way, feeling good, bunch of pretentious twats, taking away low-cost housing opportunities from people getting in. How many of them you think got in the house, or probably inherited it from mum and dad? Even worse. Anyway. Will there be enough Aussies to fill those homes? And if not, will the government be tempted to ramp up migration to fill them? I expect there will be a huge debate about migration in the next 5 years, and watch this space. I agree with Jason there 100%. There's going to be a big debate over this. And what do you reckon, guys? What do you think our government will do? You know. As always, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. I honestly think the government will do whatever they can to ensure the continued growth of our property sector, which is, well, so much of our economy. And the problem with that is it funnels resources away from other parts. Why start a business? Why innovate when you just chuck the money in a house and you make 2 years worth of income in a year? Anyway, thanks for watching. If you're a fan of the channel and enjoy the content I cobble together here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. Take care, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.